Welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Love Is podcast. I'm excited to welcome the host of the Love Is podcast, Kim Sorrell. Kim, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest.
I'm doing great. Thanks, Neil. And yes, I am excited about our guest, Noah Costa. You have been compared to all the great crooners, Frank Sinatra above all. And you're so young, and yet you have this incredibly deep sound with perfect pitch, and you've got a background in music. You started in musical theater, I think, like at 6 years old or something, and you've accomplished so many really cool things and collaborated with people. And you're only 19, is that right?
Yeah, 20 years old.
20. So you must have
Wow.
just turned 20 not long ago. Yeah.
Hmm.
So in 20 years, you've gone farther than most people have in a lifetime. So how does that feel?
I mean, it feels great. How else could it feel, right? I mean, the work to get there has been a lot, obviously. Finding the people to work with, finding right people to work with, and just putting my name out there. That's obviously the hardest part. And seeing that all kind of come to fruition now, it's just incredible.
Wow. And when you talk about specifically knowing you had talent, when did you know you have talent as a singer?
Um, oh, that's a hard question. Um, I gotta say, I kind of knew when I had talent when, I had certain people reach out to me and say, you should go to these places where you'll do like kind of interviews, they'll test you out, see how you're doing. And after all those kind of auditions that I had with them, they were like, you have, and this was when I was 12 years old, like this is 8 years ago now. They all came up to me and said, you're going places. You have something. And I think that was kind of the moment where it's like, oh, this is something I can actually do.
Wow. Yeah, that's so cool. And I got to tell you that there's a whole lot of young men who, if they went home and they said while they're in high school, I'm going to be a singer to their parents would probably say, you need to be an engineer or you need to be something else. So your parents, how supportive, or how did that support happen with you?
They have been the most supporting possible. Like they have done everything in their power to help me in whatever. Like it's even me at times where it's like, oh, I'm preoccupied with watching sports. I'm preoccupied with doing my own thing. And I love that. I love doing this. And they would easily say, I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be an engineer. But no, they really wanted me to get into this. And I'm very happy for their support. Obviously, they'd be much happier if I was going into medical school or something like that, but they've always been very supportive of everything that I've done in music.
So tell us about when you went on Canada's Got Talent. Explain the show, first of all, for the people who are all, fans of America's Got Talent. What's the
Mhm.
difference between this?
Um, I mean, the biggest difference is that it's Canadian made,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
There's in America's Got Talent, you're showcasing what all 50 states really got. And while they do allow international contestants, you don't really see that much Canadians at all. And with Canada's Got Talent, it really gives a platform for the true Canadian artists to come out and show what they got. And I feel like that's really important, especially in times like this where, people really trying to get out there from all parts of the world. And I think it's really been helping Canada become its own real country because I feel like a lot of people associate Canada with America. I feel like people are really starting to see Canada as its own kind of party for entertainment.
But you have
Yeah,
so many entertainers in Canada that were successful, right? They
Not
just
from not from Canada's Got Talent though.
nah,
Yeah,
nah.
that's the thing. Now people are going to start seeing people. Now people are going to start seeing more people coming from these because of Canada's Got Talent. It's only the Drakes and the Justin Bieber, the Weekend, only a select few. And now you're going to see much more Canadian artists come out of Canada because of shows like this.
yeah, that is cool. And I get the whole connect living in Michigan. To me, Canada and Michigan, like we were just all the same because we could just cross the border whenever we wanted, and you spoke English, everybody spoke English, and we ate basically the same foods. but they're, it's definitely its own country with its own everything. And I think it's good that Canada's Got Talent is helping it give Canada even more of an identity. It's a wonderful country.
Oh yeah.
So what was the process like for you? Did you grow up watching it or watching America's Got Talent or Canada's Got Talent and then go, I'm going to be on this show that someday?
I grew up watching American Idol. Like every
Okay.
weekend, every week throughout the week, me and my parents, we would sit down and we would watch it weekly. And there were parts of me where it's like, oh yeah, I'd love to be on this show one day. But it was never really a thought, like I never really thought like this is where I'm gonna be. And now that I've actually been there, I'm like, I've actually done it, you know? Like it's mind blowing to think about.
Totally. And how did that audition happen? Tell how you auditioned for it.
Um, like how I got the audition
Yeah,
or
got the audition and then get on it. Can't you have to have the first phase audition before you get
Mhm.
on the show, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about that,
Oh, you're not. Okay.
but it was a fun little process. I just put in an application. They reached out to me, and then we said, you know what? Why not come on the show? That's basically the best I can put it.
Okay.
That's exciting. So fun. That had to be such a fun thing. But you've also performed with greats and you've performed in huge places with wonderful symphony orchestras. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
what has been your favorite performance that you've had so far?
It's got to be with Alma Deutscher and that Glenn Gould Foundation for his 95th birthday celebration. Um, I worked with a vocal coach for around a few months at that point, and her husband, whose name, or first of all, this vocal coach's name is Elaine Overholt, and she's very well known in Canada and the U.S. as one of a top tier vocal coach. She's worked with John Travolta, Zac Efron, a lot of these guys, and her husband works a lot in connection with SOCAN and the Glenn Gould Foundation, and Alma Deutscher, music prodigy, and a lot of people know who she is in the classical scene. She was looking for a vocalist to help debut a song from one of her operas that she wrote and debuted in 2023. And Glenn showed her me, and she loved it because she really wanted a more modern voice. She didn't want a real classical trained anything. She just wanted someone who was very young and someone who can bring out a more modern voice. And that's how I was chosen. And working with her was just such a pleasure. Her musical mind is just incredible. I got to talk a lot with her about that, and she just has so much ideas. It's just incredible that I got to work with someone at such a high level. And yeah, I feel like doing that was probably one of my favorite ones because it took me out of my comfort zone as well, especially in the classical scene.
So what do you think's next for you? Like what's next for you?
Well, I definitely want to start working on a new album. I released my first album last year, and it did well, but it didn't do that well in my expectations. So I really want to get more music going, more jazz, and more original stuff as well. I really want to show me. I feel like at this point, sticking with Sinatra and all that stuff, it's just people have heard it a lot already, and I want to show the world what I can do.
All right. Kim has a love question. Go ahead, Kim. Mhm.
So I lived a year, Noah, figuring out the true meaning of love. And the things that I found out were just mind blowing. And so I'm always curious. I'm curious where love is in your music and your life and how you would define love.
Wow. Okay.
You're
Um,
welcome.
love. Hmm. Love would be something that you want to see every day, you want to do every day. In terms of my music, it's something I want to do every day. It's something that I think about a lot, and the goals that I have within it. I know for a fact that if this goes nowhere, what I want to do is in music, journalism and music, music behind the scenes music, anything I can do, teaching it, music therapy, literally anything I can do in music, I'll be happy with for the rest of my life. And that all stems from the love that I have for it. I feel like I have a lot of love for what I do, and for the love that I have for the people that helped me get here. And I really feel that love is surrounding me all the time within my music and within the people who help me here.
Okay, that was very mature for 20 answer. Yes.
Good answer.
Yes, definitely. Where can people check you out? Best play. I know I just read that. There's no social on you, right? Or where do we
Oh,
go?
I have Instagram. You can reach me
Instagram.
at it's Noah Costa. It's like it's me. And my name Noah Costa with a K.
Okay, great. Do you have a website too? Or
I do at noahcosta.com.
all right, appreciate it, Noah. Great stuff.
Appreciate you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
stopping by.
much.
You really gave Canada a kick, saying, "Here you go, Canada's Got Talent. Bring some real talent in there, to the world." So appreciate it. Thanks, Noah.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and the Love Is podcast, guys. Take care.
Welcome to Pine Tree Park. Recently renovated, Pine Tree Park, located on N Street in Bethel Park, offers hours of activity for children of all ages throughout its 1-acre site. The new playground equipment, selected by local residents, includes an opportunity for older children to practice their balancing and agility skills on the custom hill climbing elements and enjoy the slide back down. In the age 2 to 5 area, there are a number of developmentally appropriate play activities, including a climbing tower and swings for infants through adults. A couple spring toys and a creative play panel offer even more fun and engagement. And if you're up for a game of basketball, you can do that here too on the 1/2 court with a new hoop and a new backstop. Not ready for all that activity? Park guests can also pack a picnic lunch or snacks and relax at the pavilion while taking in the green environment and reading a book. We hope you stop by Pine Tree Park soon and discover another Bethel Park hidden gem.
The Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Neil. How are you? And I tell you, I'm always excited to have amazing guests on, and what could be better than having a Kennedy on our show today?
Yeah, that's one thing. I guess when I started, our guest today is Patrick Kennedy. That I ever interview a Kennedy when I started 15 years ago doing this, and I've interviewed a lot of amazing people. But when you talk about the Kennedy family, Patrick, it goes on forever, isn't it? The stories, right?
Well, again, thank you, Neil and Greg, for having me on. I appreciate the chance to talk about my new book, Profiles in Mental Health Courage. And yeah, I've been blessed in my life to have a family name that helped me get elected, obviously helped me be successful in politics. And what I did with it was really push this Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, which is personal to me as someone who's in recovery myself from addiction. The law prohibits insurance companies from discriminating against people with these illnesses. And since leaving Congress, I've fought to see that law gets fully enforced and implemented. And I've really enjoyed being on the outside of politics today, just trying to help organize a political movement so we get the change we need and get people in this country the care they need.
Well, that's great. So you just mentioned the fact that you're recovering yourself. So was that the reason that for the impetus for having you to write the book, or was there another reason behind that? Or
well, I was early in my political career, and the fellow that I had been in drug rehab with in high school sold his story to the National Enquirer, saying that he was in rehab with the Kennedys. So there was a big picture of me I was a newly elected legislator. Kennedy is a drug addict. So I had to
Mm.
try to survive that politically because, of course, back then it was worse in the way of stigma. But my constituents in Rhode Island, the only thing they hated worse than a drug addict was someone who ratted on a drug addict. So I managed to prevail in the next election, and then throughout my time in Congress was reelected. Yes, I find that when I grew up, my family suffered from tremendous trauma, addiction, alcoholism, and we never talked about it. And when I wrote my own narrative, the story of trying to get this parity law passed in Congress while also grappling with depression and addiction myself, I was really amazed at how little we still talked about it. In fact, when I came back from a DWI, which of course put me all over the newspapers again, I had dozens of my colleagues in Congress approach me to tell me about their own struggles. And of course, I realized that I'm the only one that they know has their illness, because none of them, when they walk past each other in the Congress, knows that the other one is also someone who suffers from addiction. And
Mm.
but because my addiction was so public, I was the person that colleagues of mine from both the Senate and the House would take me aside and tell me their own stories. So I found that by putting this new book together, I could get people to tell their stories. Obviously, they're not really high profile people. There's a NFL football player and a grade A kind of actress. But outside of that, it's just real people telling the real story of what it's like to live with these illnesses. I think if we have greater understanding as to how these illnesses really manifest, how do people cope with personal relationships when they have an illness or someone else has an illness, how do they navigate the healthcare system? All of that, I think that if there's greater understanding, we all do better as a result, as a society. So my hope is to get more transparency so we can turn down the stigmatization of these illnesses. The more we know, the less we're going to get all hung up on, how these illnesses manifest. We may be sick of the symptoms, but that doesn't mean we have to take it out on the people themselves who are really through no fault of their own. I mean, who gets up in the day and says, I'm going to try to get arrested. I'm going to try to piss off everyone in my family. I'm going to, put my life at risk today by, ingesting drugs and alcohol. Like, no one chooses that. And if you're psychotic, you don't choose to talk to yourself on the side of the street while people are looking at you. And yet we have cast such a perception of those with these illnesses that we leave them on the street. We leave them in jail and we isolate them in our families. So we have to get more comfortable with these illnesses and in doing so, get to better treatment so that we don't have to have as many people suffer. I mean, frankly, we could dramatically reduce the number of people who are on our streets with open psychosis. I have the solution. It's not mine. It's experts. They have the solution. Coordinated specialty care. When someone has their first incidence of psychosis, we could dramatically reduce the disability people have from these illnesses if you interrupt the disease early in its process.
Wow.
That's just like we treat every other illness. We don't wait till cancer gets to be stage 4 until we treat it. And we shouldn't do that when it comes to mental illness or addiction either.
And we should start early in identification. I think that's the other biggest mistake we make is people that could have the potential of having PTSD, the potential of some sort of mental illness needs to be identified early so we can get the treatment, because treatment can help. That's the issue that we still have not been able to fix as a country is treatment will help people get through this.
We know what works. We just don't often pay for it. And we frankly don't often deploy it. Nearly half of those who are providers do not use evidence-based therapies in treating their patients. For example, they get theoretical degrees, but if it's an eating disorder patient here or complex grief over there, or trauma over here, or depression over there. There's different modalities of treatment. And yet we expect a one-size-fits-all approach to treat all of them the same. And frankly, it's not the same. There are specific aspects of cognitive behavioral therapy that work especially well for different types of diagnoses. And we just need to treat this like we would other diseases. We do not have the focus we need to have on treating these illnesses.
Greg, what next question you have for Patrick?
Yep. Sorry, I was on mute. Patrick, what steps do you feel society as a whole can take to reduce the stigma around mental health and addiction?
Well, again, the reason I did the book is because we have people today, thankfully, willing to say that they have a diagnosis or that they get help or that they're in recovery. But we don't really know much more than that. We don't know, what does treatment look like? How do people manage without getting the best treatment? Like, how do they live their lives? That's something that I hope, if it becomes easy for people to understand, then they're less judgmental, they're less fearful of it. It's, if it's mysterious, people get scared. If they see it and it's transparent, it's easy for them to start to wrap their arms around and say, well, how can we do something to address this? So that's what I'm hoping. I'm also hoping that we enforce the law that I had a chance to write, which is the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, because if we normalize screening and treatment, then people won't think of it as any big deal, like having to go down to see the mental health professional, because they'll just see it as part of healthcare. And that's what will really blast stigma out of the water, is when this becomes second nature to people. When they go to the doctor, they get treated for any mental health conditions along with their diabetes, which, by the way, you're not going to treat diabetes if you're still drinking, because you're alcoholic, or you're not going to treat depression effectively or get treatment for heart disease if you're not also treating depression. And it can go on and on. We just so siloed mental health and taking it outside the house of medicine. People are dying of these illnesses, and not just in suicide and overdose, but they're dying of heart attacks that could have been prevented if we had treated the underlying depression or other conditions that are exacerbated by untreated depression, anxiety, and addiction.
All right. So Greg has a question he asks all his celebrity guests. Go ahead with that question.
Great. Yeah, I really appreciate this. Real quick before I do that, let me just ask you one other quick question. For those people that, really want to advocate, whether they're an individual or an organization, do you have any quick advice for them, how they can help advocate for better mental health policies?
Well, on the back of my book, I have a Alignment for Progress is the name of the website. We have a QR code to a national public policy agenda that if we got our policymakers to adopt, we could help make a big difference in this space. It means that we need to adopt better housing policies, better human services policies, better criminal justice policies, better healthcare as well. We need a comprehensive approach. So it's not just one simple fix. We need to really get sophisticated in our approach. And we need to tell our elected officials that we vote on this. And frankly, we're the biggest special interest group in the country, but nobody knows us because we're still so anonymous and we're still so silent. But I remember that Godfather movie, where he said, we're bigger than US Steel.
Yeah.
Like mental health and addiction, you add up everybody who suffers from it, you add up their family members, you add up the people who provide the care. We are the biggest special interest group in the country. However, if I'm running for office, I don't see those votes when I calculate my political strategy. If I could see that a third, half of my constituents were publicly identifying themselves as someone who cared about mental health, you can bet as a politician, I'm going to design a political platform that addresses that interest. So that's what we need to do in terms of advocacy.
All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Patrick. Been a real pleasure and an honor. And here's my question for you. I can't wait to hear the response. What do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
That I get relief by helping other people. Like so cultured to think, what am I going to get to make myself feel better? And I've learned that the real irony and paradox in life is by asking what I could do for someone else, that I automatically get relief for myself without even trying. That is the foundation of recovery. You don't get it yourself until you give it away. It's such a great paradox, but it's true. We only get relief, and we only get our own spirits nurtured. We only get our own value as human beings, our own sense of purpose, if we're helping others to find their purpose and to find their way out from these illnesses. Because these illnesses aren't just medical illnesses. They affect people's dignity, their spirit. And when we help people, we're also helping them become who they are meant to be. And there's something enormously uplifting in that whole process.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. You pick up your book at all finer bookstores. Appreciate it, Patrick. Thanks for stopping by, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you,
Thank-
Patrick.
All
Thank
right.
you, guys.
Be well.
All right. All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interviews live from the Grotto. Greg Hanna, guys. Take care.
If you're excited about Bethel Park's new splash park, then you'll want to hear this information. We have a wonderful opportunity for you to be a permanent part of this state-of-the-art community facility by purchasing a commemorative plaque engraved with your family or business name. Each 9 by 5 inch metal plaque will be mounted on the decorative fencing surrounding the splash park, visible for generations. Only 250 are available for purchase, so don't wait to order. We'll also be holding a special donor day at the Splash Park prior to the grand opening for all plaque donors. For more information or to purchase your plaque, scan the QR code below or visit the Bethel Park website. We hope you'll consider this opportunity to become part of the future of Bethel Park.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And I can't tell you how excited I am to talk to our guest. I mean, one of my favorite actors. I mean, Police Academy, 3 Men and a Baby. I mean, on and on. Short Circuit. I mean, come on.
Everything and anything. Steve Gutenberg's joining us, and he's going to talk about his newest book, Time to Thank, Caregiving for My Heroes. Steve, thanks for stopping by. And it's got to feel good when a book's out, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's on Amazon and selling really well. And I always say, anybody who wants to buy Time to Thank, please leave a review because it helps everybody else.
No,
All right.
that's so true. Steve, why did you write this book?
I actually wrote it because my dad was going through dialysis, and he was ill. He had kidney failure for about 4 years, and I chose to help my family take care of him. But it wasn't a choice. It was just an instinct. That's what I'm going to do. And I met a friend of mine, a guy named Jake Steinfeld, in the grocery store. And he said he hadn't seen me in a long time. And he said, where you been? And I told him, taking care of my dad. And he said, I think that's a book. So I started writing it, sitting next to my dad, and it went really well.
You know, Steve, I lost my father 5 years ago, and it was such a tough thing because he was my best friend. And I remember all the things of how he is such a mentor to me in so many ways. So I'm kudos to writing about your father like this and telling all the stories about you too in that book, you know?
What's your dad's name?
Oh, Jim Haley.
Jim.
Yeah.
Jim Haley. So we got to say hi to Jim Haley.
Yeah.
And you know, when you say their name, they come around. So
Oh.
Jim's around right now.
I'm going to
Oh,
say hi to
wow.
Michael Hanna. He died when I was just about 12.
Oh, wow.
And he was only
Oh,
39. Yeah,
Oh man.
Michael. So
Michael.
Michael's in the grotto,
That's right.
and
He's in the grotto.
Michael's in the grotto sitting there, and Jim is sitting right next to you.
Yeah.
And that's we all, connect with that, especially if you've got a great relationship with your family and your dad's. And did you were you taking care of Jim?
Oh yeah. No, I didn't know. My mom did. I did some. It was like he's a lot older than me, so he passed away 5 years ago, like 94. My mom
Oh wow.
is younger. Yeah, so I'm 51, by the way. But my father was almost just still going till he finally in the bed, and then basically 3 weeks later, gone. So it was not like he really went through that process like your father had to go through, but it was still
Yeah.
so hard. And I'm not even over it still 5 years later,
Yeah.
in ways.
Yeah.
It's just like you just miss him and say, I wanted to tell you, Dad, about this. And I know some of the characteristics that you bring to the table now, Dad, because of how I've grown. And I want to tell you about that to see who I am now today than I was 5 years ago,
Ugh.
Yeah. But he is watching you, and Michael is watching you too.
Yeah, thank you.
I
I
love
know
that.
it's true. I know it's true.
Yeah. So, and in my book, Time to Thank, I talk about my dad would leave me signs, little white feathers. Do you guys see any signs from your dads?
I've had feathers, birds. I've physically been touched when I was 23. I feel he saved my life. I was on a truck working with a guy who had built a I-beam for hauling trees through a pulley system. And I was on the truck and he was using the hoist and he was pulling it and the I-beam snapped or the hook snapped. And I felt something hit my head and throw me to the ground. And the little U joint like went flying through the back windshield like a bullet. It
Oh
would have
my
taken
God.
my head off. And there was nobody there. That was amazing.
That's him.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
him.
more signs as like a cardinal or certain things, and I just know he's there. That's
Yeah.
more for me.
Yeah, it's just great. And as I was sitting here, just now a little white feather flew by.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
So
pretty
Steve,
cool.
in writing the book, were there any new insights or eureka moments that you gained in the process?
Yeah, how quickly time goes, and that it really is time to thank now. It's time to thank now. Say what you want to say to everyone in your life now, because life goes by pretty quickly. So, yeah, I think all the time about my dad and how he and I never had anything unsaid. I would tell him I loved him since I was a little boy. I told him how much he meant to me all the time. And life is good that way. Life is good that way. You've got to be, and he would always say to me, and I do this on my Instagram, if anybody can check it out. He would always say, life is supposed to be happy. It's supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to have more miserable days than good. You're supposed to have more happy days than bad. And that's what life's supposed to be.
Yeah, my father was always trying to stay in the present, never forget the past, move on to don't,
Yeah.
and he was really good about that. And he would get happy at certain times. I'm like, Dad, we're going through, a challenge. And he was there. And I remember every time he would be that kind of bearer of getting me back in track when I was struggling. That's one thing I just saw from him, and just ultimately,
Right.
and he always cared about my happiness before himself.
Right. What a great guy Jim is.
Yeah.
And was and is, because that's what a parent does. They love you so much. They just want you to be happy. Whether you're doing a podcast, whether you're working in construction, whether you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer, doesn't matter. I want you to be happy. Then everything else is good.
Steve, what do you want the readers to learn most about or get most from this book?
I want people to know that life is an amalgamation of moments, really happy moments, just a few bad moments, but for the most part, we're here to enjoy each other's company. It's not a solo trip. It's a trip to do with someone else, with your family, people you love. This story, Time to Thank, is about an extraordinary guy in a regular life who had a son who's a regular guy in an extraordinary life.
Wow. How much did he help you in your development and stuff and being
Oh my God.
acting and all that? And
Well, he encouraged me to take theater classes, encouraged me to write, encouraged me to work out and get in the gym. He encouraged me to have fun, study, be serious, get your work done, but also have a good time.
Yeah.
He encouraged me to do all that.
wow.
Amazing. Sounds like an amazing man.
Really
How
was.
long has it been since he passed? Has it been a while or?
It's been a year and 10 months.
Still pretty fresh. Yep.
Yeah, very fresh. Yeah.
And what I
So-
see from you, Steve, is that, you know, this is the greatest honor in the world to write this book for your father. He's just watching and it's got, like I said, I'm thinking of writing a book about my dad who graduated from the Naval Academy #2 and worked with Admiral Rickover. And so
Oh, wow.
he's a brilliant guy. And I want to kind of highlight his life. And, you know, he was vice president of Wyoming Mineral Corporation, which was Westinghouse. I didn't
Wow.
get to the levels he is now. I guess I'm a late bloomer getting to a certain level, but it's just that he was just such a brilliant man in so many ways and how, you know, talented he was.
The
And
last thing he would
hardworking.
want, I'm sure the last thing he wants is any comparison, because you're your own person, your own beautiful, wonderful person.
Yes.
And, you know, and that's the coolest part of it. We're all these individuals and we all have our stuff to contribute. The fact that you love your dad so much is everything. And I love positivity, you know, and you guys are very positive.
Yeah.
And on my Instagram account, I started it because I was sitting in the hospital and I would come outside and just talk to social media and ask, does anybody out there feel how I feel? And thank goodness, people wrote back and connected, you know. And I think that's what's great about Amazon is that you can connect easily through Amazon. And as I said, I hope that people get to read Time to Thank and leave a review because that's communication. We need to be a community. We need to not isolate because the phones and our cars can make us isolate. We need to be a community. We need not to isolate. Very important.
Yeah, social media has really helped with that.
All right. You know, Steve, and then what do you, so ultimately, also your stories in the book are about your career too, in it, right? Is this almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of fun in the book about how my dad loved Hollywood. He loved Hollywood and he loved the private jets and the movie stars and the premieres and he used to love the craft service tables and the limos and just having fun. The studios loved it.
Well, my time was he would take me to all these basketball games. I was played Division III college basketball, and I'm a former professional wrestler making my comeback into the ring at 51.
Wow.
So I guess I'll have to definitely be thinking of my father. My documentary, I'm doing a documentary with it as well, and it's starting in
Wow.
October. I did some of the filming. Now the wrestling filming will be in October. But when I think about specifically enough how he took his time out to be with me and to take me places, that was very, very important. I wish I could have seen him at work because that's the greatest thing for you get to see your father at work and be able to work with him. I whenever I have a chance with my kids, I'm always jumping on a call or doing a Zoom or certain things because I said I want them to see this is what dad does because a lot of times people don't understand that. So
Yeah, of course, especially in showbiz. Now, what's your moniker?
I have different names, but now I'm going to come back as the media giant. But I worked as Big Deal, The Real Deal, Giant Warrior, Leviathan, a bunch of different names. giant Butch Bronson in Germany. So if you've watched Dark Side of the Ring, a lot of those guys, I know some of those guys I've worked with back in the day in that time period, but we're creating a documentary that's going to show my comeback into the ring and have like a 3-day deal. And who knows if I'll stay in the ring or not. That's to be determined. All right,
Now,
Greg
are you very tall? Are you a tall guy?
6'10", 290 pounds. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So, wow. So you got a great character, and you should keep doing it, man.
Okay.
It's a great career, and I know a lot of guys who wrestle.
I'm
It's a
thinking of
great
doing
career.
movies too. I want to do some background stuff and all that, 'cause they like big guys.
Sure.
So I'm thinking of
Yeah.
doing that as well once I get into the final shape. Goals, because I'm also trying to fund a movie with Chris Mulkey for the Road Warriors, a story about the Road Warriors. He wrote a book on that. I wrote a screenplay on that, Chris Mulkey. So Chris and I connected and stuff. So we'll see.
Is
All right,
this-
now,
yeah. Chris is the Undertaker, or
no, Chris Mulkey's an actor. He's a working actor. You look him up. No, Mulkey.
okay.
Yeah, he basically has been in many, many movies. Working actor. I don't know. You probably
Okay.
worked on something with him. Who knows?
I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, Greg, go ahead with your final question. This is going to be really interesting.
All right, great. Steve, thank you so much. I really appreciate meeting you and your time and all of your thoughts and your heart that you shared with us today and in the book. So tell me, what do you feel, Steve, is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
That love is the most powerful force on earth. That it could turn a battleship around. That it can stop a war. That love can make anything happen. Love. It's all about love. It just is. And when you have love in your life, you can scale a mountain. You can do anything. You can do what people say you cannot do. Belief and love.
Yes.
Belief and love.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thanks, Steve. Best place to pick up the book is Amazon, independent bookstores anywhere, right, Steve?
Absolutely. Please do, and check out my Instagram.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
And
Yeah.
when you read it, please leave a review on Amazon.
We will. All right.
Definitely.
That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity Interviews live from the Grotto. Greg Hanna, guys. Take care.
Welcome to Oak Tree Park. Located on Summit Street, the over 3-acre Oak Tree Park has a true identity of its own, complete with Bethel Park's first Gaga Ball Court. Not sure what Gaga Ball is? You can learn by reading the rules that are right on the court. The beautiful neighborhood park was renovated in 2021 to provide a larger playground area, complete with new equipment, selected by local residents for kids of all ages. So, bring your family to enjoy a fun play structure with a slide and a tire swing, several spring toys, and a swing set complete with seats for all ages. To make everyone cooler and more comfortable, a sunshade was installed over the playground and baseball viewing area. Oak Tree Park also has a basketball court and a youth baseball softball field. And before you stop by, be sure to pack a picnic basket to enjoy a few snacks or a nice meal under our upgraded pavilion. Oak Tree Park, another Bethel Park hidden gem.
My guest today from America's Got Talent. We're going to talk about the 19th season. He's the host, Terry Crews. Terry, thanks for stopping by, man. And you know what? Two big guys need to stick together, right? Especially, man, I wish I could do that with my chest.
Listen, you're 6'10", but I'm trying to go, I'm going out with the pecs, man. That's me, man. 6'2", but the pecs are popping. The big boys got to stick together.
Hey, but I'll dwarf you when we stand next to each other. And I'm 290 pounds. So, we definitely, I wish I could be in your shape, but you really are dedicated to your health, aren't you, Terry?
Listen, I love being in shape. I love being at the top of my game. There's no reason to give it up. And I'm just so thankful to be in this business is a privilege. It's a total privilege.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump in. How did you get this opportunity to be the host of America's Got Talent? How did it happen?
You know what? It's kind of weird. It's like a comedy of errors because I literally told my agent, I said, put me in places that you wouldn't normally see me, because again, you're a big guy. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, you're just going to do sports or you're just going to stay over here. And I told my agent, you got to push the envelope. Make me a guinea pig. I want to be where you wouldn't normally see a big dude like me. And I got the chance to host a spinoff, which was AGT Champions. And they liked it so much that I ended up hosting the flagship, which is beautiful. And it's been 6 seasons so far, and there's no end. Let me tell you, I'm trying to make it so you can't even imagine AGT without me.
Well, because you're a character, and that's what people need as a host, somebody who they'll remember, and you are a fan and so much for all the artists. Wouldn't you agree? All the talent, your eyes light up when you get to see them perform.
Well, I'm from the Midwest, and when I was a kid, performing in Los Angeles was like going to Mars. Telling everybody you were going to Mars. They're like, no, that's way out there. It's too crazy. And I'm living on Mars right now. So when I see the acts coming to the show, and they're like, oh my God, they're looking around and they can't believe it. My job is to let them know you can do this. I did it. You can do it. Just be yourself. Go out there and do your talent. And my job is to give them the best platform, and I'm their bodyguard. I make sure nobody messes with them and they have everything they need to do the best job they can.
And I love the idea of bodyguard, because I'm sure you've also bounced. So, when bouncing on stage,
yes.
I was a bouncer as well. So you got used to hearing music back in the day. So you were a bouncer then for sure at one point in your life.
Yes, absolutely. And, you got to protect the people who come to have fun. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it's about. It's really just protecting them. And I always remind the acts that you have to enjoy it. It's not about hurrying up and getting it over with. Like when you get out on that stage, that's your moment. This is your time.
Yep.
Soak it up, enjoy it, be present. You know what I mean? Because if you try to hurry up, you'll be like, what just happened? You know what I mean?
It's my moment getting to interview you for 6 minutes. Hopefully someday we'll have a longer interview. All right. Should we expect this season? Is there going to be any surprises this season?
Well, the biggest surprise this season, instead of the judges having one golden buzzer, each judge has 2 golden buzzers. So it's going to blow your mind. And people are feel like, wait a minute, are we going to mess up the integrity of it? No, because there's so many times when you see an act and the judges are out of buzzers and they're like, I wish I could, but I don't have any more. Well, now we don't have that problem. And not one of those golden buzzers got wasted. I'm telling you that right now.
All right. Well, that's the big thing. And everyone definitely will tune in on May 28th, NBC and Peacock. Isn't it crazy, the whole streaming thing now? More and more, you'll probably be talking Peacock all the time, right?
Yeah, well, remember, this show is actually worldwide simply because of YouTube as well. You know what I mean? It's the clips that live on forever and ever and ever. AGT is not going anywhere. Streaming, broadcast, YouTube, it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to see who's lives has changed every season.
All right. So I was talking about my comeback. Are you up to the challenge to get in the ring with me in October? We'll have to contact your agent. Me in the ring with you on my comeback against 6'10", 290 pounds. I'll have to choke slam you, take you down quick, Terry. Even though I see you're going to be in boxing soon too, right? If that's true, you're training to be in a boxing match.
Well, you know what? That wasn't a real boxing match. I was trying to really generate some heat. I'm going to be on the front row of Anderson Silva's boxing match, but I'll wrestle you. I'm trying I'm gonna cut you low, man. I'm gonna make sure it's over quick, like whoop whoop.
Oh man. Oh no. Okay. All right. Awesome. But I love it. You know how publicity works. The gimmick, man. It's all about the gimmick. The two giants in the ring in October, Terry Crews and Big Neil, the real deal, the media giant Neil Haley. Appreciate it, man. Again, everyone tune in May 28th, NBC. Yeah, on The Real Deal and the media giant. Neil, the media giant Haley versus Terry Crews live in October at a town. We don't know which town. Oh no, the chest is out. Am I scared? No. All right. Take care, man. Tune in May 28th. America's Got Talent. Take care. Thanks, Terry.